And all right. So again, Emilio Garcia, very quickly, Gabby and I, we are part of Boundify. We are a demand generation agency. We offer marketing services for some of our clients, which are typically technology and telecommunication companies, usually in a growth state. You will find me on LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my time on social media. And we also have a series of events that we create bi-weekly called Demand Gen Studio, where we cover topics related to that. So if you are in that space and interest, join the conversation there. Gabby as well here. You will find her on LinkedIn as well, and she's the one that makes the magic happen with all these events. So thank you, Gabby, as always. And today we are going to talk about the things that we saw at Inbound. And first of all, probably the biggest question that I have for all of you is: were you able to go to Inbound this year, or did you follow at all the the releases and mentions that HubSpot did during the year in September? Um,
I did not. I was not able to make it this year, but I was trying to follow as much as I could in terms of what was being released. It's just so overwhelming.
It is. It is. I and Tori, you were there. Fantastic. Hopefully, I try. I think I have a skip just once, 1 year. So hopefully, next year, if you are around there, or you go, or any of you go, um, typically I announce on LinkedIn, I'm going to be there. And so someone is willing to meet in person. That would be fantastic. So good to know that some of you could make it. And I agree. Over time, what had happened to me is that I spent more and more time at the beginning on the sessions, learning. I was pretty new to HubSpot. And nowadays, especially because we are a partner, we get a glimpse of the things that are going to release one day before. And so that's helpful because then we can focus on other things like meeting people, having conversations, learning the next level of what's going on in the conference. But still, it is mind blowing. I go to some sessions, learn some more. Obviously, I focus mostly on things that have to do with B2B because that's our space, and I get to meet great people. And especially for this year, I learned a lot about how AI is going to impact the B2B motions. I think that's something that stick to my head, especially what LinkedIn is doing. I think is very interesting. And obviously HubSpot, we will talk about that. So obviously AI was a big thing for the conference. So good to know. We will cover some of the overall things that got announced. And I know that probably you have already read about this. And I know that barely an hour is too little to really dive into any deep conversation about it. I will just try to offer my best interpretation of the implications of the changes, which I think is the one thing that is valuable, right? Rather than the actual features, is the implications for us as users, and for people that is, especially if you're using HubSpot and you want to communicate with your management team or executive team. If HubSpot will support your growth, I think we have great news about that. And it's always great to know the overall thinking of the company. And I think that's one area that I want to focus today. So with that being said, if there's something that you are curious about the conference or anything else that has to do with HubSpot, feel free to ask questions about it. And typically, what we do is that we cover at the end, or they can become one of the events right down the road. So today we will cover a little bit of the overall changes, dive a little bit into the Sales Hub refresh, into the new features for customer CRM customization, and finally the push for AI, right? So those are the areas that I want to highlight. And apologies because this is kind of text heavy, but I feel this important to talk about the overall themes, right? The first one is obviously that I feel that HubSpot is really leaning into AI, something that I think they were working already because I have followed our mesh for many years on LinkedIn and Twitter. and I have seen glimpses of his involvement on AI. But at the same time, I feel that just like everybody else, all these SaaS companies got a little bit caught up for Microsoft OpenAI ChatGPT, right? I think that most companies just thought that AI was something that was going to go mainstream a little bit further down the road, and ChatGPT just changed that. I think that all of us as marketers have feel it. I've been using AI tools for years, and I remember like I have them on the back of my head, sometimes trying stuff, but not really committing to learning more. And ChatGPT changed all that because clients are asking for that. So I think HubSpot is in the same situation. I think they have cobbled as fast as possible something for this event. To be honest, I don't think that their whole focus was going to be AI if ChatGPT hadn't happened. So I think the overall team continues to be what is in the center. I think that the biggest changes and direction for HubSpot continues to be to build a more robust CRM that better competes with Salesforce. That's for me the main thing. So I think AI is complementing that push, but doesn't change the fact that as HubSpot tries to go enterprise and go upstream, customizing the CRM is the biggest thing that they are doing. And to some extent, I will not say that the other hubs suffer, but they are not getting the same level of attention. Probably just sales and CRM in general are the main focus, and that continues to be for this year important. It is, however, important to highlight that even Brian mentioned it in one of his conversations during the event, that there was a pivotal decision that HubSpot did when they were deciding if they were going to go enterprise or SMB. Because if they have gone SMB, they will end up competing directly with something like Shopify, right? And they decided to go on the enterprise route, and therefore, not a lot of people think of HubSpot as a B2C solution for commerce. But I think that while they are not making a lot of noise about it, they are taking steps in the right direction. And the one that I want to highlight is this repackaging of the commerce tools. It is huge. I don't know if you have noticed, but little by little, they are really putting up a lot of solutions around reducing the friction for the purchase process, right? You have the Stripe connection, you have the invoicing, you have the subscriptions. Getting smarter with more functionality. I think that they're going to go to the level of tiering. Obviously, the part that they are not there yet, that things like Shopify Chime is fulfillment and having multiple payment options. But I think they're building the building blocks, and that might be important down the road. So the Commerce Hub, it's something that probably didn't got a lot of attention because AI and a smarter CRM kind of took the stage, but is massive because managing payments gives the platform the ability to solve for a lot of problems on the SMB world. And more importantly, as more B2B companies become more digital, I think that maybe not all products, right? High value products is still going to be sold in more of a traditional way. The lower tier offering of more B2B companies is going to progressively come from e-commerce transactions. And I think that HubSpot is positioning itself in a very good place for accomplish just that. So those are the high level themes. I don't know if someone has something else to comment or say down here. Okay, very good. So let's dive right away. The first one will be the new Sales Hub. So let me tell you my thinking here, and ask again another question. Any of you, Becky, Jasmine, or Tori, work for a B2B company or have any involvement with a B2B company where you have a sales team that has to do outreach and look for people?
Yes.
Yes, yes. So maybe you are familiar with the phenomena that, um, in my mind, HubSpot is great for managing what you already know, and to some extent to manage outreach, but it's not great because one of the challenges when you're doing B2B outreach is that you already know the companies and the people that you want to target or you want to have conversations with, but you don't have the data. And when you are doing outreach, there's a lot of very repetitive cyclical things that you have to do that HubSpot is not well equipped because you have to move around tons of tabs, right? If you have a list of companies and you want to make phone calls and you want to record tasks and plays and all that, there is no single place where you can do all that. You have to go to different places, to the call tab, to the contact tab, the company tab. Sorry. So there's a lot of moving parts in it. And I don't know if you use some of those, but for our clients, I have seen use them: Apollo, Outreach, Sales Love. There's a bunch of tools that you can do for outreach. I don't know if some of you use those tools as well.
We currently don't really use a lot of other tools outside of HubSpot. Um, and we use Zoom Info to gather like data and information and kind of help streamline some of our contact pool. But right now we're in a growth phase, so we're kind of exploring new options on how to grow and work a little bit smarter versus harder.
Yes, I agree. So I think that while this refresh is not the solution 100%, because I think it's still the one thing that HubSpot is missing that tools like Apollo and ZoomInfo are covering perfectly well, which is the um, intelligence around the people and the companies that you want to target. They feel the competition. I remember, for example, we use Apollo for business intelligence, and for those of you that use it, I'm pretty sure you have noticed that they have a lot of functionality for that is equivalent on Salesforce, right? You have the deals, their sequences, you can build out lists. So if you don't have a CRM or your sales team is not that well versed working between two platforms and setting up the integrations, you can do everything on Apollo. It's when you're doing outreach, when you're not dealing with inbound leads. So I think this refresh for Sales Hub is an answer to that, right? Having a workplace where or a workspace where people can manage all the prospecting aspect of sales, and building up a new object that they have, I think, resists for a long time and has very impactful consequences, which is the new object called lead. And obviously some of the A/B testing for sequences and deeper integration with LinkedIn, which is highly appreciated because a lot of outreach and B2B happens right now on LinkedIn, of course. So yes, I know, Jasmine. I would also like to see news on data enrichment inside HubSpot because it is something that is important. My best approach for that one has been using Apollo, and I'm sure that can be done. We have another client that uses ZoomInfo and does the same, but this is still a little bit tricky. I think data enrichment for companies is in a better spot right now for HubSpot, but for contacts is something that is still lagging. And I think they have all the rules, all the tools to implement it, because I feel comfortable saying that you can enrich contact information and use the fields for GDPR to make sure that you are not sending emails to people that you just added to the database, but that they haven't opted in for communication. So I think it's not a problem anymore of just having contacts there. Now you have non-marketing contacts, so you can have a bunch of them and not worry about paying for contacts that you're not marketing to. So I think all these changes are going in that direction for sure. So those are the new features, and I will try to go as fast as possible through them. So there's a little here like a guidance of what version of the software has this, and if it's something available in beta or if it's already released. So the first one will be this prospecting space. Have any of you tried it out already?
I've played around with it. I'm not in sales myself,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, our sales team is not using it. I've played around with it a little bit.
Yes, I agree. I think this is still work in progress as the beta conveys. Probably the biggest thing that I can highlight for you is the idea of leads. That's what I will start testing if you're interested on this. And let me tell you why. For some of you, it might be obvious, but for me, it wasn't pretty obvious at the beginning when I started working with HubSpot and overall sales teams. And now it's a little bit more now that I have worked more and more with sales teams. And it's this idea of just like we have the deal object, which makes sense because if you have a company and contacts within that company, over time you will have different iterations of engagement where you might have an opportunity, and deals represent that pretty well, right? You can say, well, in 2020 I had an opportunity with this company associated with these two contacts, and we worked on a project for 6 months that was valued at this amount, and it closed one, or we lost it, or it's in progress. And so the deal object allows you to repeat that scenario many times for the same company with different contacts, a long time, and different values. That's fantastic. The same situation can apply to leads that are not yet opportunities, because let me put you in a scenario. Imagine that you have a company, someone gets inbound and fill up a form, raise their hand, and say, I want to have a conversation. Before having this lead object, what you will do is that you will mark one of the properties of that contact, right, which is called the lead stage, as new, right? And then you will start the prospecting process, right? Attempting to connect, connected, qualified, unqualified, all those things. And that works great for the first time. But after that, if that same person reach out again, then you have to recycle the stages, right? For that person, you have to put it again into new, and you will lose. In theory, you have the history because you can go to the history of the property and look back when it was new, when it was all that. But you truly have another event. You have a new lead for that situation, and the stages as a property on a contact are not good to reflect that. So that's what the lead object is doing for the prospecting workspace. Is equivalent to deals. It's just that you don't have a quoting process yet. You hadn't committed that on the pipeline. That is the difference. But it aligns perfectly with scenarios where a salesperson, for example, is reaching out to someone, or someone is reaching out to you, or the other big scenario is you have a client and someone within the organization asks you for a new opportunity. So that's a new lead, even if the client is already a customer. And again, that's another part where HubSpot was not great, because if that contact was associated with that company and that company had already a won deal, it will be marked in the lifecycle stage as a customer. So it makes no sense to say something like, I have a customer and I have a lead stage that is new, because it's not new. You already know them. But it is perfectly fine to have a stage of new for a lead object. So that's in general the biggest thing that I can tell you to try, or at least start playing around. The rest is great, right? Give you visibility into all the things that a salesperson do. The other big thing that I love about the prospecting tool is that allow managers to see what the sales rep is doing, which is something that is not easy to do in the rest of the tools, right? If I want to see what tasks and what conversations and what sequences are being triggered by one person, there's no single place that a manager can just go and do that. And with this one, you can see your own prospecting activities, or you can shift into someone else if you have the proper permissions, and look at the tasks, the sequences, the calendar. And so it gives you an overview of all the activities that someone is doing. I think they are putting all together all those tools. Give it a try. I think it's really good to start testing for sure. So that's one, prospecting workspace, right? I think I skipped one. Yeah. Do any of you use the LinkedIn Sales Navigator?
No.
No. Okay. So this is a very special case for you to explore. Again, geared toward improving the workflow of salespeople. Um, when you have a salesperson or sales rep that do a lot of what they call social selling, right? That they reach out on LinkedIn and all that. There's a ton of conversations that happen on the platform on LinkedIn that do not necessarily get reflected automatically on HubSpot, right? So it will be harder for a sales rep to just go back into HubSpot and document something like, I sent an invite, or I had a conversation with a prospect. So in the past, you could sync Sales Navigator with HubSpot, but the integration didn't have a lot of sync information around the conversations. It was more of a business intelligence, because you will have a little panel, and you will be able to see the LinkedIn profile of the contact or the company as a card. But now they are syncing more data, right? So that way, if the use case for this is you have someone that is a heavy user of LinkedIn, and you want to have visibility into their activity and how that leads to opportunities, I highly recommend that you explore this one. Again, it's beta, it's a private beta. So meaning you will have to reach out to someone within HubSpot to get access to it. And just a quick reminder to everyone, if you want to have access to every beta, let me share my screen here, that is public. Product updates. And let me stop sharing. Let me share this tab. So now you should be seeing this tab. So if you want to have access to private betas or public betas, I'm sorry, you can go here to betas on the product update page, and you will see all the public betas available, and you just join the beta. The private ones, the difference will be that you will have to request it. Right. So the best time of the year, obviously, to go and find interesting betas to join is after inbound, where they have a bunch of betas that are cooking into for features that are going to release or they just got announced. So go here and look for the ones that you want. All right. Very good. Now on the CRM customization, again, highlighting why is this important. The reason is, does any of you have had experience or have used in the past or currently using Salesforce?
We are not using Salesforce.
No. Okay. Exclusively CRM, HubSpot, and you're using it as a CRM as well, not just a marketing tool.
Correct. We're using it as a CRM. We're doing some landing pages on it, sales and marketing.
Good. So using Dynamics, yeah, which is another scenario typical of that, and we typically work more with SMBs than anything else. Not necessarily by choice. That's kind of like the companies that we have as we grow stumble upon. Maybe in the future we were more intentional about the types of companies that we work with. But I have had some opportunities to work with enterprise companies, and they have very different requirements from smaller companies related to the CRM. And the biggest difference is objects and customization, which is something that Salesforce is the king of, right? It has many years the ability to allow customers to change their CRM to their specific needs. There are many instances of that, but imagine, for example, real estate companies, and rather than residential, imagine commercial ones, right? So if you want to use a CRM to manage the commercial real estate process, at least you need to have a place where you can hold the idea of a property, the property that you're trying to broker. That will be a good example, right? And it can be many other things. Imagine that you are a franchise company and you want to represent the franchises. That will be another thing that you want to hold the model of. And so being able to customize the CRM to your needs, it's something that is the biggest roadblock for enterprise users of HubSpot right now. And I think most of the features that have been released this year, and I feel will continue to be released down the road, will try to tackle those two things, which is how we add more customization in the form of objects and properties for those objects and associations and reporting around that. And the second biggest one, which again is something that more mature CRMs like Salesforce and Dynamics have done for quite a while, is given access on the same interface to other systems that in enterprise make sense, like fulfillment, right? If you are a manufacturing company and someone buys from you, then you have to detonate an order. And it is great if your CRM can instruct the fulfillment of the order, but it will be even better if you don't have to shift into systems to get information about what's going on after, right? Or if you're in a medical company and you are delivering equipment, it will be great if you can see the object of the medical equipment being delivered and have information about it in your CRM so you don't have to go outside. Contracts, all those things. So I think that these customization and integrations are some of the reasons why HubSpot is getting into this more and more. Now, you, Jasmine, are mentioning something that I completely agree, which is that it's really poor. And I think this will be the edge for HubSpot. I definitely feel, and Brian and Dharmesh have mentioned it many, many times, which is HubSpot is not a cobbled system. To build up these new things, they rarely have acquired anything, rarely done. They have acquired, just like Apple, a few things that they quickly integrate in, and you wouldn't notice. There's one example that I have. Their whole integration component, right? The app marketplace where you can add integrations to sync data used to be a company called PySync. I don't know if you're familiar with it. PySync was like a bi-directional sync solution, kind of an answer or alternative to Zapier, because Zapier has the problem that you can sync information back or forth, but you cannot do it two ways. And they acquired that company and then transform it into a solution. It took a little while, but you wouldn't notice that they had that PySync interface. It's not in any way blended into HubSpot, and that continues to be the example. So I think that what HubSpot is doing different is that every time that they add a new feature, it just feels as the rest of the CRM, right? The CMS, the CRM, the commerce, where all of them share this commonality on the interface. And that's what's going on here as well in terms of customization. So let me go to settings and highlight something. This thing is model objects. Sorry, I'm looking for. Okay, I will look for it at the end because to not lose the flow. So let's go. So let me put you an example of what you might need. This is an advanced feature, and probably for most of you will not make sense to dive into it because you require a little bit of development. And quite frankly, neither a developer, so I don't exactly the details. But the implications are great, right? It means that for us partners, it will mean that there will be more opportunities to help our clients in meaningful ways. It's available enterprise only, and it's right now in beta, public beta, so you can join on that page that I show you. And it's that part that I was telling you. You have objects or information from other systems that you would like to bring into HubSpot. Now you can build based on React, which is the front-end development platform or protocol, interfaces into HubSpot that will look and feel like the rest of your system, right? And they're using here an example of Meal and some of the things that the interfaces that you can build. I think this is great. Probably you have already experienced some of this from companies that integrate with HubSpot and that have the same look and feel. ZoomInfo, Rollworks, PandaDoc, most of the tools that integrate with HubSpot that have some information, they have built these cards that go along associations with contacts or companies or tasks or tickets. So that's an idea of what you will look like. But you can see now that if you're able to do this and build these interfaces, maybe you can also integrate reports and have more and more information inside your CRM instead of jumping systems, which I think is great. So this is one big one. It will not be something that initially will be able to do a marketer by itself. Probably will need the help of developers, but I think ecosystem is going to evolve to support it, as soon as possible. This other one is within the realm of marketers, or at least HubSpot admins without the help of developers, and is more and more you want to customize how your cards look like, because there are many more of them every day. So this will allow you to organize your views. And if you remember, you have on your left side information about your object, right? The contact, the name, the email, and all that. And on your right side, that's where you have mostly information about the associations with other objects. And that's the way that you should see it, right? So your deal or your company that you belong to, or the subscription, or any other association or integration that you have for a company, for a contact, is usually on the right side. And that's the part that now you can change and customize to better fit the needs of your company. So I think this is something that you can explore. It's in public beta right now. It's available for all hubs. So it's a great feature to dive into. All right. So finally, AI. And here again, I'm going to stop and ask, have any of you play a little bit with the new features for HubSpot AI at all?
I've done some report generation or some descriptions. It writes descriptions of workflows and reports. I mean,
and what do you think of it?
I don't know that it's very, I don't know. It's very detailed and just seems to take keywords of what properties are being used. I think it's almost over too many details.
Yeah.
Like just a little cluttered of a description.
Yeah. My take is that I don't want to be that it was rushed in. Again, I don't think so. I think it's, the team has done a tremendous work on bringing on those features as fast as possible. But I feel still that is a solution, not looking for a problem, but how do you take advantage of the areas that might benefit from AI. And there's some obvious reasons or obvious things to do, which is the features that got released. But I strongly believe that over time, better uses will be found for it. And again, here I will draw in some direct experience. There was a conversation that Dharmesh or a part of the presentation that really stuck with me, which is not what AI can do right now, but what is capable of doing that we don't have access yet. That I truly believe will change how systems like HubSpot use it. Dharmesh mentioned the fact that it's not working with real data or real-time data as one of the things that will change, and I completely agree with that. In the context of HubSpot, it matters because that is one thing that is different, right? Is these AI features that you have for HubSpot are accessing real-time data from your CRM. So that's a great thing. The other portion that I think will have great implications that Dharmesh mentioned is that technically AI can speak code just like it can speak natural language. And that's important because we will continue to talk to it primarily through natural language, but that will mean that we can ask it to do things with other systems that speak code, right? Without us needing to build up integrations or building up, APIs necessarily, or not building APIs, but services that connect APIs and writing pieces of code to accomplish stuff, even if it's just one time. And I know I'm dreaming up this, but that's how I understood it. And I think it's fantastic, right? It's amazing. If we could down the road come up with an idea about what we want the system to do, and that requires connections or integrations or conversations between two systems that don't have an API or a web service built, but they just have the APIs, and the AI in HubSpot is capable of talking with the AI in our system and build something. That will be fantastic. I think that's another great implication. But finally, the thing that I feel it is still far away from us is that advisory role that you were mentioning, Becky, right? I think that Dharmesh mentioned two levels of that. First, as you said, is providing better answers, not so cloudy or clunky. But the second one is that it's still an on-demand behavior where the AI is waiting for us to ask it, what is it that we want to accomplish, or what are the recommendations that it has, or insights that it have into the information that we own. And sometimes we struggle with coming up with the answers, right? The prompts. I feel that down the road, the really helpful thing will be like, I don't know if you're familiar with some of these strategy games like Civilization, where in those games, there are so many things going on, right? So many cities and borders and other civilizations and things that you have to do, that it's impossible in one turn to go and review every city and every unit and come up with an idea of what is the best next thing that you got to do on your own. It will take a lot of time. So you always have an advisor, a little engine that is telling you what are the things that you should worry about for the turn that you're in. I feel that we marketers are in that dilemma right now, right? We have website pages, we have landing pages, we have email campaigns, nurturing scenarios, campaigns running on advertising, and we sometimes struggle on deciding what is the next best thing that we can do to improve our overall performance, right? Revenue, pipeline generation, lead generation, brand awareness. So if eventually HubSpot can build something that is capable of taking all those data points that I have access to come up with a series of recommendations, actionable recommendations, where you say something like, well, I think the best next thing that you can do is to change this nurturing cycle or sequence into something like this. Do you want to do it, or you want to tell me someone else to do it? That will be fantastic, right? I think that's the next stage for AI for sure. But this is a good start, right? So some of the features that probably you have seen are related to generating reports, like you mentioned, Becky, and and descriptions. We also they also liberated or released some website builder capabilities and social media generators and blog content. We personally have used, I think you, Gabby, right, have used the social media copy generator. Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think of it?
Well, for me, it's for the titles mostly. When you have trouble with titles and you are like, what am I going to use like for a copy? And that's the way it works. Like it generates, auto generates. In if you offer like a context to it, like the theme or the topic that you're going to talk about, it will generate some of the ideas that it has for titles, or even copy if you have a post for LinkedIn or any social media that for um, for HubSpot, and it's really helpful.
Yeah,
It
I
works like
agree.
Mhm.
I yeah.
It works like if you guys have used ChatGPT, it's kind of a kind
Similar
of the
to
work it does. Hmm.
Yeah, I feel that it's good. One of the challenges with ChatGPT is that you have to give it context every time that you want to do something new. And I know that I think you, Gabby, know this better than me. That you can have like a pre or templates of prompts, so you don't have to set up the stage every time that you ask something. But for those of us that are not super versed in ChatGPT, this usage in particular about the use of AI in a specific situation is helpful because you constrain the problem, right? It's not coming up with everything that you possibly can ask AI tool. It's specifically either the title or the subject or an idea of an outline for a blog post. So I think at least we'll get the conversation rolling. Of course, as you have seen everywhere, we want to be mindful of not using this as a replacement of our thinking. We still have the advantage of knowing the context of our particular situation for the company, for the reason for the newsletter, the reason for the blog post. We don't want to create generic content that it will be clearly marked as AI generated, but it's mostly to solve the writer's block that sometimes all of us experience. So
It
you
works
have,
as inspiration. It does. Yeah.
yeah,
Mostly it is for that because you already know what you're like, it's in your head. You know what you want to express on that copy or in that title. It's just that sometimes you don't know, you don't come with the right words and you want to explore options, and that's the way it works. If you don't have like the all the options available, you don't have it right away, it will help you to, like you said, unblock that creativity type of thing that sometimes it happens.
yes. And I think it adds nicely to the collaboration aspect of building newsletters or building web pages or landing pages in general, and even blog pieces. I think that is the one thing that we should conclude from this improvement, right? Is they are extending more and more. I don't know if you have tested or seen it in more places where you are building content. They are adding this little section here where you can mention a team member and work a little bit the management process of building content with people. So the best way that I think of AI features is this: when you are one team, when you're a team of one, having someone that gives you ideas, you become the editor of it, right? Instead of being the person that comes with all of it at the same time. And then you can collaborate maybe with your boss or someone else to even improve more the outcome. So if you use it in that context, it's just like having someone else in the team. And that's, I think, is the best way to think about it. So you have it for social media blog posts, you have it for titles and description for blog pages, which is great. And they are also exploring the I think you didn't add it here, but it's worth mentioning. I have worked with some tools that are website builders that you give them an idea of the things that you're going to do, and then it will produce a layout. I like that idea, especially for landing pages, because while it's always great to experiment, I feel that landing pages have some built-in best practices that we should always start with, right? And we go from there. And yeah, I'm sorry, Becky, I paused you. There was some nice there. So the website builder is a great way to start experimenting with that, and obviously explore the rest of the assistants, right, that they have released. The same goes for the one that is used for generating content based on SEMrush data, right? I think it's a very actionable way of taking some of the topics that are relevant to you for capturing demand from people searching for topics that are relevant to your company, and you can use that to build up blog posts if one of your content strategies is blog content. All right, so with that, we will end today. Again, as I told you, I know that it's a very highlighted, but at least that this piques your interest into some other ideas. As always, we will release this presentation for you to have some resources to work on. And if you have any questions, just let us know on the group that we have on HubSpot. And just to let you know, by November next month, we will be focusing on more in-depth on the Sales Hub tools, right? So now the rest of the sessions that we will have for the year and maybe the beginning of the year, we will dive into some of the new features. Come prepared. Tell anyone that might be interested. If you have sales members that might be interested on the new features of Sales Hub, we will be happy to have them here. So with that, I'll finish or stop sharing. And just to say thank you, Becky, Tori, Jasmine, Mark, welcome. And we will be sharing this presentation at the end, as well as the video. Do you have any other comments, Gabby?
Well, not really. Just thank everyone for being here, and thank you for being a real participant today. It was really fun.
It
So
was
I
fun.
hope you guys join us again next month.
Have a great one.
Thank you guys so
everyone.
much.
Bye-bye.
See ya.